you jerk. What are you doing? Did you go dirt bike riding without me, you jerk?
You went to bloody Bathurst without me, so I had to do something fun.
Oh, true that. How'd you go?
Yeah, sick. It's really good. Caught up with some mates. We went to up behind the beach. I rode these trails, so I got a bit wet, but ended up worse off than my mate Matt, who ended up drowning his bike.
Sick. That's always a good fun thing.
We got it started. It was good. He just smashed it back. It was fine. Other mate Zai's a gnarly rider. He was doing monos next to me and flicking rocks up. You need to learn how to look behind you and not flick rocks at people's faces, Zai.
Damn you, Zai.
Yeah, no, it was a good ride. How was Bathurst?
Yeah, it was sick.
Yeah?
Had a good weekend.
Sweet.
Met a few fans. Our boy Chaz did really well, came fourth.
Sweet.
In the super cheap auto car. So
yeah, nice.
Yeah, it was good.
Good stuff.
What about the Bedford, bro?
I don't know what's happening today. What do you want to do?
Fix it and send it back to Millsy.
Well, I'm finished washing the dirt bike and maybe you can get some stuff ready, eh?
Sweet.
Cool.
Hurry up. You owe me.
Owe you what?
For taking the bike out without me.
It's my bike.
Yeah, for going without me, you jerk.
Consulting the list, Alan.
Yeah. I reckon we'll go back to booster. Try and get that all sorted. We need to buy parts for everything else we need to do, so save us going into town 10 times. We'll just do the booster, I think. I reckon we're going to have to put the car back on the ground and roll it forward, which is the first time it's ever been off a hoist since we started. Reason being is we can't open the front door, and it's really hard to work in the front footwell if you can't open the door.
We've got wheels now, so we can do that.
Yeah. Well, we're missing one wheel, but I think we can dig one out of the pile of old stuff and stick it on the back and just roll it forward a bit and get into the wheel well, which is always a fun time.
Look, you look like you really want to do that. Look alive, Alan.
Dual stud rubbish.
Get a multi-stud wheel, they said.
Yeah. It'd be fun, they said.
There seems to be some kind of KTM in the way.
It's a Husqvarna, bro.
I thought it was a KTM.
You thought wrong.
Sweet skidders, Alan.
Let's be honest, I think they're all going to be skidders. Oh, sweet, this doesn't fit at all. Hurrah.
What can we do now?
Millsy. Fling that thing here. That doesn't fit either. Sigh.
Where'd you score that one from?
Nowhere.
Good to come down?
Yep. Did park.
Parking pin. You're driving, Kramer.
Hello. I think we can just run a plate off of this main support structure and it'll pretty much be in the zone like that.
When's the dash coming out?
I'm not really all that keen on dash remover. I was going to make that Millsy's problem. This has got virtually no movement in it, so it can just sit like that. It's a plan. Is that too high? I reckon it's too high. It should be down here somewhere.
That's better.
Yeah. So you want your foot to be comfortable.
Yeah.
Like if you got to lift that up too high, this part of your leg will cramp up. So
Doing yoga when you drive.
about there, is it?
Yeah, that's comfortable. That's sweet.
30 mil. Stay there. Now move across. Yep. Sweet. All right. See how little movement drive-by-wire pedals have in a lot of cases? It's really because it's just a torque demand. Hey, I want to move. The ECU decides whether you move or not. It's its own thing. Actually, seems like not much movement, but I've used pedals like Subaru pedals, and they have a lot of movement, and it often doesn't feel right. It feels like you've got a lot of dead movement in it, whereas these are very more direct. Hard to explain, but even though that doesn't move anywhere near as much as a normal throttle cable does, it actually feels right when you're using them. So we've got to use this anyway, so there's no debate, but don't be afraid if it looks like it doesn't move too much, because that's how they're supposed to be. Pull the dash out.
Thought that was a Millsy problem.
No, I mean the underside bit,
Oh.
framey bit, the one that's got 300 bolts on it that won't be any size at all, and you won't be able to figure out how to get it out.
Bit worth, eh?
10.5 mil or something like that. This door doesn't stay open either, for your convenience.
Hey, Alan, hokey pokey or classic cheesecake?
Cheesecake? Really? I'll just have the one that can put bolts in.
That looks like some quality stuff there, eh?
What could possibly go wrong in the future? It's amazing. This looks a lot like Millsy's mate Anthony's problem.
Looks like there's the whole catalogue of the Nava connectors in there, eh?
Yes, this is just flapping in the breeze, that one. How not to fuse box. Anyway, I'm just going to tuck all that stuff out of the way and make it not my problem for a change. It looks right up Anthony's field for sure.
You know, some would say that Porsches use those kind of fuse boxes.
That's because they're Volkswagens, and Volkswagens had that kind of fuse box as well.
Do you like Porsches?
Didn't really have anything to do with them, to be honest.
What about Volkswagens? What about Volkswagen Golfs?
Yeah.
What about a Mark 1 GTI?
Mark 1 is cool, but only because it's old. My mate Plunky used to race them.
Plunky?
That was his nickname. Might need a little bit of rust inhibitor on there. See how incredibly simple that thing looks? Well, it's not, because everything that the car has is mounted inside here. All its repeaters and switches and everything. we won't be using it again. So if you need a new dash for your Bedford, call Millsy.
What was the number to call Millsy on?
1-800 FKN MILLSI. We might try another pedal. This folded thing is a pain in the butt, doesn't really correlate to this new booster. Where's the Falcon pedal, the Ford one, that came with it?
The one that I chopped up.
Yeah, well.
I cut it off, remember?
Oh.
Don't you have any spares here?
No, I think I chucked them all out.
Good one.
What about Sabo?
Yeah, he'd have a few cars there.
Cool.
Go in and see him, eh? Toyota parts on the Bedford, Alan.
Sweet.
Do you like crowns?
Some level of reliability.
Do you like crowns? Yeah. Used to have one of these, eh? Exactly like this.
This one looks better than yours.
7M GTE turbo. This one had a 7M GTE, but it's got some melted pistons now. Sabo blew it up. Actually, it wasn't Sabo, it was... Who was it? Yasher and Briggsy.
Yasher and Briggsy.
He looks like Angus from...
Angus, you do too.
What are you doing?
Can you get me a 12mm?
I'll get you 12 minutes. Battery Radaman?
Yes, please, and an extension.
What are you actually doing, Rodriguez?
So we are getting out the brake pedal because the Bedford ones are some folded bit of metal that looks really weird and it kind of sweeps up. And then when you're sitting in the car, you got to like have your foot over your shoulder to hit the brake pedal.
I think it's like that so that you could have the 30 centimetres of stroke required to make the brake drums work. That's not needed anymore. So
we're down at Drift Lab Automotive, my mate Sebastian, and we are stealing parts off his Crown because this thing's going to the dump today. And Toyota parts are cool.
Poor old Crown.
Look at this plush velour, look at this stuff, mate. Old Toyotas are made really well, eh?
New ones are usually made alright too, but
A lot of the plastic stuff.
doesn't have buttons on the seats.
Check
like
these
the
pistons
standard
out.
would.
Look at this stuff. That's standard 7M life.
To be fair, they wouldn't have done that if it wasn't leaned out to
Well, that's true.
11.
Usually
That's a stock 5M pump, that is.
This block actually looks alright too. It's not corroded like hell. They usually eat this away.
If you want this, you can find it at the dump or something.
Cool and scrap metal.
So much 80s
Speed control.
speed controller.
That looks like the size of 3 modern ECUs.
Doesn't want to come out. What's going on? Ah, got it.
Winning.
Sorted.
We got this pedal out of a Toyota Crown. Sort of a bit more like what we want, just because of the construction. So it's a single, not a fold. So it works better with the way that booster's actuated. There's like a billion combinations of this sort of curve and the way it comes forward and all that sort of stuff. So it's kind of like potluck, just grab one and have a look and see if it looks all right. This one's obviously a fair bit different. It looks like it goes around the column and then back into the middle. You can't do that with this because the column goes into the floor. But you can see it does lead the right way. So what we can do is just cut it off and we'll just make it work.
Can you adapt the Ford pedal onto that one maybe?
I might put the pedal pad on from the Ford just because it's going to match the ricey looking throttle pedal.
Not period correct actually, no.
Rice correctness.
Ford's not rice.
bogan correctness then.
There you go, perfect. Look at that sweet WR in the background there, bro.
Where?
Nice.
I can see yours.
So clean.
Looks like you've been crashing it into things.
I may or may not have dropped that plenty of times.
Same.
For the Toyota cram pedal to fit, it needs to be slightly modified. Ali's bending it so that it will sit in the same position where the Bedford pedal was. The Bedford mounting or pivot point is cut out of the pedal, which will be adapted to fit into the cram pedal. A clevis pin is drilled and tapped to suit the Toyota 86 brake booster, and the cram pedal can then be slotted in and marked once it's in position.
I think we might have got it pretty close first time. Should work, which is good. It's actually better than the other one because the way that the other one came forward so far that we couldn't actually get it in the vicinity of where it really should be. Whereas this one doesn't sweep forward like that, so I think I'll just give this a little bit of a tweak here to bring it further over towards the centre, and then we'll stick the pedal pad off the Falcon onto it, drill the pivot pin hole. The original brake switch will just work the way it did on the other vehicle, on the other pedal, and then we can get to this, which should sit something like that.
The FG Falcon accelerator pedal is marked out on a piece of steel which is cut to size and drilled to suit the mounting bolts. It's held up in position and tack welded onto the steering column support. It's then removed to be welded up and also have some extra bracing added to withstand the force of Millsy's right foot.
This is the panel that supports the steering column and also bolts up underneath where the pedal is. So I've mounted the throttle, electronic throttle off it, bolts on there. Getting the pedal heights right is very important because you'll hate driving the car if they're wrong. So if you're doing this sort of work, be mindful of where the throttle is, especially because you spend a lot of time with your foot sort of gently resting on it, maintaining speed, and if your foot's angled like this, you'll get crampy legs and stuff and hate life and you won't want to drive the car. So just be mindful of the ergonomics involved. Go and have a look at a factory car that's the easiest way. There's actual specific heights that they quote, even in some of the workshop manuals for pedal adjustment. GM's like 50 mil between brake and throttle. I think we've got this sitting at about 40. So that they're not going to be lined up. That's not how it works. So make sure you get that right. Otherwise you'll probably have to do it again or sell the car. So the other thing with throttle pedals is that actually is quite a bit of force on it. It will fatigue a metal plate over time and break off if you don't support it like that. I mean, that's probably overkill, but I'm just working with the sort of materials I've got. Better overkill than nothing at all, and it breaks off. So just because you're not putting, it doesn't feel like you're putting much force on it, it still will fatigue just from back and forward. So make sure you consider those things if you're going to do something like this, if you're stupid enough. So that's the crown brake pedal that we got. I have reshaped it. I prefer to use factory pedals than make my own, because that's also under a lot of force and they will bend if you don't make them right. I've done it before and you learn from the experience. So that is a pretty good quality steel, obviously, and the way that they also join that pedal to it, you can't just like stick a pad on there and just weld around it, because it'll just snap off. So you can see this has got a method of receiving. It's got that sort of punched out V in it. That's so the pedal itself can go into it and then you can get really solid welds around it. That's what it was like when it was in the Falcon. I've cut it off there and made a new point because I needed to move the pedal across, but it's still going to be welded in the same fashion. So I haven't finally welded it yet because I'm going to get Millsy to sit in the car and make sure that it's comfortable one last time, and then we'll weld that around and around. And there's a sort of a fancy cover, like sports type pedal cover that goes over that matches this. So it'll be like a rat with a gold tooth, the old Bedford. This pivot point is out of the old pedal and it's bigger, so I just cut it out of the old pedal and trimmed it all down, drilled through this Toyota pedal, fitted it, left it dangling, moved it where the appropriate spot was, then tacked it, then I finally welded it just now. So high fatigue zones, they get used flat out. Don't underdo it, overdo it if you're going to go anyway, but it will break off if you don't do it right. So looks simple, not really. It gets fatigued very easily, so make sure you use quality materials and think about it hard, otherwise you'll end up with a nugget that no one wants to drive. Let's fit her up.
You gonna paint that or what?
Nah. Most factory cars I don't bother painting under the dash, too expensive.
Save that 2 cents of paint.
Exactly.
2 cents
And
times.
they also generally make these enough to cut a steak, or in most cases your fingers when you've got your hand under a dash trying to fix something. So yeah, it's nice to get tetanusy cuts from the underside of a modern car.
Every 2 cents saved on 300,000 cars.
Yeah.
How many hundreds of thousands of Bedfords we've made?
It's more profits, bro. You wouldn't even have to vlog. Being a pain is easy. I don't know what all the fuss is about.
It's pretty common for you to recycle parts, eh, Al?
Me?
Yeah.
What do you mean?
I don't know, you always seem to find a way to either use Toyota or Subaru parts on something.
Oh, yeah, I'd just use whatever, but they're the ones that I've got lying around, so. Can't say I'm a massive fan of this dodgy ass bolt setup they have.
Why's that?
Because Bedford.
You love the Bedford, mate. Done.
It's all in there. Just got to get Millsy to come and sit in the seat and make sure the pedal's comfortable. I've just snapped it back off again just to, just so we can move it around. It was kind of like mock up, but I will actually tack it back on again so we can tweak it a bit, make sure it's in the right place. So he should be here shortly. What you got for me?
Hey.
Oh, good.
Toilet.
2 back wheels, that's always a good thing.
Yeah, that's good to go. Are you a bit cold, Millsy?
Yeah, it's a bit chilly out there.
Do you bring your bike, bro?
Yeah. Yeah, man. Got the dirt squirter here, guys. Got the KTM. I know I've got a few KTM fans out there. So we'll go for a spin today.
You guys going riding in this weather?
Not going to break down, is it?
I hope not. Give me my Suzuki back, Al.
Are you really going riding in this weather?
Suzuki's going to owe you a lot of money if you take it back. Yeah, why?
It's just a bit rainy.
It's waterproof, bro. Millsy, sit.
Select D. Check.
You can't do burnouts because you can't put your foot on the other side of the steering column.
I know, I don't know what I'm going to do. I just like... You should turn them on the power, right?
Yeah, it should.
You're like...
You can do it, it's just awkward.
Yeah, that feels pretty good, man.
What about the heights? You got to guess.
It seats the goods.
Comfy, Millsy?
Surprisingly, yes.
You need to go back further.
Well, I can't.
What are you doing? You're trying to figure out how you can do a foot on brake.
Well, that I probably won't need to because I can just do this. Stall it up
It's not awkward at all, is it?
so I can test out the ZF input shaft.
Is this something you thought about, Al?
What?
Trying to do foot on brakes with the steering column in the way?
I realised that it was terribly annoying, yeah.
Ah, that's alright, I won't need to.
But I didn't buy a Bedford van, so it's not my problem. Is it, Millsy?
Got to mow lawns.
Is it a good height?
Yeah, it feels fine, hey?
Good, I'll weld it on then. Hook it.
Such a professional, Alan.
Perfect. Probably should have waited till the paint dried.
Acting as lubrication.
Yeah. That's my theory. What do you think of them pedals?
Absolutely mint.
It's very sporty, just like the Bedford.
Zippy.
And grippy.
Nice.
And period correct with the FGX.
Definitely.
So you know what's lurking under the doghouse.
What are you going to
If you
use for
don't
it?
know, now you know.
Whatever Matt makes.
Do you reckon you could just like do an old school wheelbarrow trick?
Yeah, that'd be
What?
cool.
Yeah, man.
That'd be cheap too. You go to
Yeah.
Bunnings and get a wheelbarrow and stick
Having a
on top.
Barra over your Barra.
Oh, zing! Done deal.
Nice.
Booster done, brake pedal done, throttle pedal done. steering knuckle I've got. Just had to open up the inside of it up to 5/8 inch, which is what this shaft is. Then we'll stick that on. Brake hardlines will do. I've got a new pinion for the diff, which is a 1350. We're going to fit that in a second. And then we're going to dirt squirt. And then after that, we're going to lemon squash.
After, or that's how many you had last night when you were sitting here by yourself?
No, that's not what happened. You can't have too many lemon squashes because they've got a high sugar content. It's no good for you.
I thought they were high carb content.
Probably,
Or they're low carb, aren't they?
Probably both.
Low carb,
I don't
high
know.
sugar?
You can write low carb on anything. It doesn't mean it is.
True.
No one likes carbs. So just to elaborate what we're actually doing here, this tail shaft's got a 1350 uni joint in it, which is bigger than this, what this comes with standard, which is a 1310. So that would have been like a weak point in the whole drive line. So we had to order in this 1350 yoke, which wasn't ready. It wasn't there by the time they put the diff together. So we just got to swap it over. So that will receive this large uni, and Millsy will not break things, hopefully, maybe. Probably should have just tapped it with a hammer.
The new 1350 yoke is installed with sealant on the spline to stop oil from leaking out past the nut. The yoke is tightened up to spec given by the diff builder, and Al gives the lock nut a touch up with a whacking stick. He can then bolt up the tail shaft and bring the car back down on the ground.
Right, we got some stuff done this session. Crossed off a few things, added a few more things. Got to do these brake lines. I've sort of been avoiding them. It's a fair job. I think I might try and get Woody to do that because he needs to learn, and he never does anything anyway, so I can't do all the work. Got to put some shock brackets, or actually move the shock brackets on the diff. Someone, when they put that diff in there years ago, they welded the brackets on in the backwards, so they had big spaces on them. So we'll cut them off and put them back in the right place, and throw some new shocks in it as well because they're pretty buggered. I had to hammer them to get them off because it was all rusted in place. There's also some brake line mounts that we've got to put on there because it's now got more brake flexible lines because it's got calipers on it. So we'll just weld some of them on while we're at it, just to secure the lines. The rest of the stuff is still hanging over our heads. Well, we're going to have to start the wiring soon. We're actually getting there, so but it never ends. You know how it is. I still haven't vlogged or profited, and that's of concern. It seems to be the way to do it on the internet, so I might look into that. So for now, Millsy's going to take me dirt bike riding. So if I'm not here next week, you can blame Millsy. Thanks for watching.
Hey, what's that badge on the revision mirror for?
That's like a little star with some rainbows next to it.
The other one.
Oh, that. That's Millsy's platoon, like badge from being in the army. And if any of his other mates in his platoon see it, they got to show theirs to him within 15 minutes, or they owe him a carton of beer. So I'm going to be in on this action. I think they can drop off the beer or lemon squash or whatever here, because we're going to make bank on this, unless they all watch the Skid Factory, which they should.